is phthalo green, Joe's green. Now, Daniel Smith calls it phthalo green. That's the generic word for it. Okay, so now, how much time do I have?
You have at least 25 minutes.
Oh, excellent. You're thinking, she got a lot to pay, aren't you? Well, I wanted to show you a couple things. I wanted to show you the lifting you can do on this, but let me hold it up for you.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see he's turning elephant colored, and I can get him browner or grayer. We would see whole herds of elephants that had rolled in the river, and they looked really brown from the mud. If I'm thinking, uh-oh, here's my value study, that side of the face is really light above the eye, because I used this, look what I can do with just a wet brush. I can bring out the highlights this easy. That's why I say you really need to go buy a... You just have to be careful because you can lift too much if you're not watching. But look at the highlight I just put around that, oops, around that eye.
Yeah.
You see that? That quick. Okay, I kept teasing you about, I've got a trick up my sleeve. I did some homework for you. Okay. I thought I'd save this to show you the tusks and then work on the eye. But I also told you I would share everything. I so wanted to do a good job for you that I really mucked up the important eye. And so I heard someone mention watercolor ground.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever used it. I ordered it from Daniel Smith. I painted watercolor ground over his really mucked up eye, because remember, I didn't put any matte medium there, the matte medium water. I looked and I thought, oh man, I can't do the whole thing, everything, I love every part of the elephant except the eye. So I painted watercolor ground over the eye and went and had dinner, calmed down, and then came back and thought, oh, I can still see some ghost color through it. Put another coat on, left for a bit, came back, and then redid the eye. And so I love it.
You can't tell.
Yeah.
Pardon?
No, you can't tell.
You can't tell I did that.
Watercolor ground is unbelievable.
So I've heard people say, you know, there are a lot of different brands of it you can buy.
You mean absorbent ground?
It's watercolor ground,
Watercolor ground.
not absorbent ground. That's what you'd use on a canvas if you're
Yeah.
gonna like tone it first.
Really?
If you're,
I use absorbent on watercolor paper. That's
oh, you do? Well, I've never used that. I just bought watercolor ground.
okay.
Someone I like said, get Daniel Smith, it's a good one. So since I like Daniel Smith,
Daniel Smith is the best one. Golden is not good.
well, so I bought Daniel Smith because
That's,
maybe I heard you say it.
well, maybe, but we've been using it in class. It's really great.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's absorbent.
Well, it says watercolor ground on it.
Watercolor ground absorbent, or absorbent watercolor ground.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's absorbent.
Okay. Well, I like to have you all know exactly what I did.
Okay.
And I never, I mean, I always tell the truth. So, I did the eyes like I would do a person's or a dog's or a cat's eyes. And sometimes, you know, I have to go back in again and again. So sometimes they come out really fast, sometimes not so. I didn't want you to see me going back in and back in. So I thought, I'll show you the tusks. Can you see where they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, let's not screw that up.
I'll try not
Let's
to.
give you a little pressure.
Okay, I don't want to lose all that good paint. So, because I'm going to finish the other elephant too. So I'm not going to touch that. So I'm going to use my lid as my mixing space for this because it's clean.
You, I wonder if I could put it on telephoto there, right down to the...
Sure.
Down
And you know
to
what?
that.
How about if I sit? Would that be better if I use that chair and sit?
No, yeah, that's okay. I'll just,
Good for you to just be able to sit. For her to be able to sit, I feel good.
I'll come down close to you.
Okay, does that better? You have more room to,
Yeah, this is better. Here we go.
I'm very accommodating.
You are.
Okay, now move your paper.
Wait,
Move
which
your
way?
paper so we can see it. No, we gotta see it on there. There we go. Okay, then down. There we go.
So don't move.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is it uncomfortable for you though?
Is it a good spot for you?
Move the table a little?
Are you comfortable where
I'm
you
good,
are?
I'm good.
Oh, you got it too far over.
Do I?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this one first.
Oh, is there one there? Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't know there was one on the other side.
Well, you know, yeah, I'm gonna do that one, but I'm right-handed, so
Okay,
I'd rather
that's
do the left
okay,
eye
that's
first.
okay.
And I'm going to turn my palette because, remember when I held this up, you might have wondered, what in the heck did she do in the corners of that palette? I squirted, here's permanent rose I don't want to contaminate. Here's permanent rose that I don't mind if I do. Here's cobalt blue that I don't mind if I contaminate. Here's cobalt blue that I don't want to contaminate. So I've got my uncontaminated paints and then my other ones. And, oh, I have to use this because I want to stick with that quinacridone magenta. But that's too... I'm going to put a little quinacridone magenta, get this open, on the edge here. There. Because I want to make my purple with the rose color, the red color that I chose for my limited palette. I like to stay with that whole thing. I need my water. And my paper towel. Okay. Make sure my brush is clean. Yeah, it's dry enough that I can rest my hand on it because I did this last night. So what I'm going to do is paint the tusk with clean, pure water. And I'm going to, not yet, try, I don't want to nick in those colors that'll activate because there's matte medium all around this tusk. So if I activate the edge, I'd be dragging in that color, and I'm going to do that in a little bit, but not quite yet. I want to get the tusk looking tusky to me. You know, Frank, when you said, do that one, you kind of lost track of this one. There was an elephant there that only had one tusk. In Kenya, as a country, right now, it's illegal to do big game hunting in Kenya. It's against the law because they're trying to keep the animals alive because poaching is such a terrible problem there. And sometimes they cut off the tusks.
They cut off the tusk.
Yeah, because poachers.
Kill the animal.
Yeah, because poachers are so
Really?
ruthless. Yeah. So the first, like I always see purple in my shadows. So I'm using a 14 Robert Simmons for this because the black velvets hold too much. And then if I charge in a little bit too much paint or it gets away from me, I can use a Robert Simmons as a lifter really well because it's just got a little more firmness to it. So when I'm painting, okay, so what I just did was soften the edge. And then I've got a little bit of paint in the tip of the brush, and I'm making use of that. Dragging it around where I need it. Still got water in it. I've got paint on this one. So here's like one of my things. If I ever put a shadow in, I don't care if I paint the whole shadow purple. That's fine. But I have to make it my kind of a shadow. And I like color so much. What I always do this. It's kind of the Georgia routine. I have color changes happening. So whatever colors I've been using, I'm going to put a little bit of new gamboge in those shadows. Oops, I got a little fat there. I'm going to put in a little bit of the pearly magenta alone. And remember, if I didn't use any of my alizarin crimson phthalo green black in this one, but if I did, I would be putting a little bit of that in here. So all the colors in the painting go in my shadows. And I like to soften the edges with these Robert Simmons. You can train yourself to do it with any brush. I'm just used to how it happens with this, with Robert Simmons, because I like them. They last a long time, they're tough, they're my workhorse brushes. And I want some just plain cobalt too. Just a little bit. So those are my, like, just magic happens when I use those colors and shadows. Now, I'm activating the edge where that color that wants to activate for me. So I'm using just a little bit, and that's why I like using that kind of a brush. I don't want it too candy colored. So I'll even use some neutrals in the areas too. Because those tusks aren't absolutely pristine. They use them. Man, do they use them. We saw some things you can't believe in Kenya. One time there was one morning, there was a hippopotamus menacing a baby elephant. The mother came up, gored him, stepped on him, rolled him around. It was a dead hippopotamus, and they're pretty big. And then she just walked away with her baby. Like, take that. Well, then it was a battle because the hyenas got there first. So one lone lion couldn't get near it because there were too many hyenas. So the lone lion was out of luck until more of the pride came. It was such a cool trip.
And you were just standing there watching this, huh?
We were in a vehicle.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, you're not allowed out.
I'd be afraid to get
Yeah,
out.
right.
Well, you know what? Less than a year ago, there was a woman that wanted a better shot of a lion.
Remember that.
And she opened the door to get a better shot, and the lion jumped in and got her.
Oh.
Killed her. You know, you're there at your own risk.
Oh.
I know.
Oh, geez, that's cool.
So when we got stuck in the sand, the driver was really nervous. So, I'm going to show you one tusk. Oops. There it was. Quick, do the other. And you know, I might play with them a little more when I get home. Sometimes, you know, when I'm rushing it, something happens and I think, oh, I could get it a little more to my liking. But I like you to see the basic process. And I will tell you before I get that other tusk wet, I love the colors that you see winking out. Some of them I didn't have to put in because of that underpainting. You know, and I did it just the way you saw it. If you come closely, you can see where I kind of scritched it in. There were some areas over on this side when I was working last night that I just wasn't liking it. It was just not enough color there. I can see I got a little drip of water there. I'm going to just try to let it dry without touching it too much because that's one of those spots. I don't want to lift all that. But over here, this is the side of the elephant where the light's coming from, the light's hitting it first. I wanted that to be more neutral. I wanted this side to have a little more color in it. So I actually lifted up some of the neutral and then added back color to get where I wanted. And because I had that matte medium down, it was a really simple process. So if you're doing a landscape, same thing could hold too. You could still, if you're like in foreground or whatever you're highlighting in the landscape, you know, you can lift so easily and then get back from neutral. I know when I'm working on watercolor paper outside painting plein air, sometimes as you're charging in color, you know, you're trying to get it right, the lights change a little bit, suddenly you look and you think, oh, I've got all my greens so murky looking. So if I had a little of this matte medium on the paper, I could get back to a fresher look quicker. So, and then what I don't like to see is a painting that looks overworked, where you've gone at it and gone at it and gone at it, and suddenly it just looks like the oldest sweater in your closet that got trampled by an elephant. So, you know, a nice way to stay fresh, because I really think with watercolor, the best thing is not to touch the paper too much, you know, to use as few strokes as possible. Whereas when you're painting with matte medium down, you don't have to have that problem in mind of, what if I overwork it? You know, so it's just a nice way to work out solutions. So I'll tell you, did I tell you about selling this one at the Arboretum? Yeah. So this is what it quite looks a lot like this. And then I have another client who already has a commission in for me to paint it again. That's this one. And then I'm still wanting one for me, so I'll finish that one. So, how much time do you need for your?
You have 10 minutes if you want.
10 more minutes?
If you
Okay.
would.
I'd love to do the other task. Are you?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay with that?
You have to move it over a little bit so we can.
No.
There we go.
You'll have it figured out at the very end. Oh.
So if you have any questions,
So tell me again why you didn't use matte medium for the eyes.
okay, I didn't want matte medium on the eyes because I wanted to be able to get the likeness like I do when I paint a portrait of a person or a pet. I want the deliciousness of the watercolor paper to do its magic for me, because I know how to paint. I know how to paint on watercolor paper without matte medium on it, and I know how to get exactly the likeness I'm looking for. And I've done enough portraits that I know just what I want to do and how I want to do it. So with the matte medium on, I wouldn't be able to have that flow of the watercolor to soften edges, and that's pretty much the key. I don't know if we have any other portrait painters in here, but when I'm painting a portrait, it's softening all the edges. If you think about the way, you know, our faces grow, or, you know, when we're in the womb, you don't have any hard edges. Everything's folding under, and, you know, you have to show that. Just like, you know, the idea of an eyeball, you don't see the whole eyeball, so you have to show the shadow shapes. Like, if I've got, well, I'm not going to do a whole eyeball. Let me do my tusk. You only see part of it, so you have to show the shadows in there, and it's such a subtle amount that's showing. You have to show that shadow. First portraits I did, I was like, didn't show them to anybody. I was thinking to myself, doggone it, everybody I paint has buck teeth, and they look like they're wearing wigs, and their eyes are popping out of their heads. What's wrong with me? What am I doing? You know what I wasn't doing? I wasn't softening the edges. Once I started getting the darks where they belong and softening the edges, everything settled down. So it's crucial to get that part right.